You know that quiet, nagging voice? The one that stops you from speaking up, from creating, from being, well, fully yourself? We're talking about the fear of judgment. And in this breakdown, we are going to tackle exactly how to overcome it step by step. So let me ask you this, and be really honest with yourself. I'm willing to bet the answer is a big, fat yes. Maybe you held back a question in a meeting, not wanting to sound dumb. Or maybe you hesitated to post that thing you created, or even just shelved a whole business idea. That feeling? Yeah, it's pretty much a universal human experience.
And let's get one thing straight. This is not some personal failing. This is a deeply human instinct. But here's the good news. While it might feel like this permanent brick wall, it's actually something we can learn to take apart brick by brick. Okay, so let's get into our first big strategy. Before you can fight a monster, you've got to understand it. And the key here is realizing that a huge chunk of this fear, it's built on a pretty powerful illusion.
Here it is, the simple, maybe even brutal truth. We walk around thinking there's this giant spotlight following us just waiting to highlight every mistake we make. But the reality? Everyone else is the main character in their own movie. They are way too busy worrying about their spotlight to be paying that much attention to yours.
And this isn't just a hunch, there's actually a name for it. It's a real, documented cognitive bias called the spotlight effect. There was this famous study where they had students wear a kind of embarrassing t-shirt into a room full of people. The students wearing the shirt, they predicted that half the people in the room would notice it. But in reality, less than a quarter of them even saw it. Just knowing that your brain is literally wired to exaggerate how much people are watching you, that's the first huge step to disarming the fear. The feeling is real, for sure, but the spotlight, it isn't. So let's move on to our second step. This is all about building your defenses from the inside out. See, if you stop looking for your sense of self from what other people think, then their judgment it loses its power. It's all about creating your own internal compass. And this really boils down to a fundamental choice you get to make. Are you living for values, or are you living for validation? The moment you really define what matters to you, things like honesty or creativity or kindness, and then you start to line up your actions with those principles, that desperate need for outside approval just starts to fade. You're not performing for an audience anymore. You're just living for yourself. So how do we actually build this thing, this internal compass? Well, it happens through action. Courage isn't some trait you're just born with. Think of it like a muscle. And the only way to make a muscle stronger is to work it out, especially when it feels a little uncomfortable. And you don't start by lifting the heaviest weight in the gym, right? You build up to it. So you start small. You do something that makes you just a tiny bit nervous, like asking that one question. And guess what? When you survive, your brain learns, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. Then you level up. You take a medium risk, like sharing a thoughtful opinion online. And then, finally, you take the big leap. You launch the project, you give the speech. Every single step builds on the last one, and your confidence just starts to compound. Now hold on, this doesn't mean you should just plug your ears and ignore all outside input. No. The real trick is learning how to separate the signal from the noise. This is about being discerning and connecting what you're doing to a much bigger picture. This is where your filter comes in. So think about the feedback you get. On one side, you've got useless noise. It's vague, it's personal, it usually comes from people who have no idea what they're talking about, and really, its only goal is to tear you down. But on the other side, you got useful feedback. It's specific, it's actionable, it comes from people you trust, and its whole purpose is to build you up. The real superpower is learning to spot the difference instantly. And when it's all said and done, it comes down to this really powerful choice. Playing it safe so that other people don't feel uncomfortable? Yeah, it might feel okay in the moment, but it always comes at a cost. And that cost is your legacy. It's the work you could have created, the impact you could have made. So which one matters more? All right, theory is great, but action is where the change really happens. So let's turn all this into a challenge. Not for tomorrow, not next week. Right now. This is your 24-hour mission to put all of this into practice. So here are the steps. Super simple. First, get real with yourself. What is that one idea, that one opinion, that project you've been keeping on the back burner? Write it down. Second, give it a voice. Say it out loud yourself, or even better, tell a friend you trust. That makes it real. And third, before the day is over, take one small tangible action. Just one. Send the email, write the first paragraph, make the call. So what's that one small action going to be? When you take it, you're actively rewriting your own story. You are proving to yourself in a very real way that your legacy is way more important than someone else's temporary comfort. Look, the fear might still be there, riding shotgun, but it doesn't get to drive anymore. You do. Now go take the wheel.